We are joined right now, I'm very happy to say, by Governor Sarah Palin, of course, former vice presidential candidate and former governor of the great state of Alaska. Governor Palin, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Welcome to Newsmax Television.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Okay, I beg everybody's indulgence. We have a 5-second satellite delay. Governor, who do you think performed best and who helped themselves the most?
I think we should be so excited about this whole process, competitive primary. I think that this debate tonight certainly showed the difference between a party that has a foundational plank that's based on free enterprise and competition, because a competitive primary is what this nation is needing in order to, of course, choose the best leader of our country, as opposed to the other side of the aisle, where their choice is either this week's Hillary or next week's Hillary, because Hillary is, the skids are greased for her. So tonight, all of them did so doggone well. I'm just so excited, and I'm excited for America to know that they have these great choices, because these folks on the stage tonight, they have more common sense and they have more conscientious concern for the average everyday Joe Six-Pack American than any of the others on the other side.
I couldn't agree with more with everything you say, but you've been up there on that kind of a stage, and you have to be sitting there watching this debate and saying, okay, he did himself well, he didn't do himself so good. Let me ask you, candidate by candidate, do you think Marco Rubio helped himself tonight?
Yes, we have to consider that the format tonight was odd. It was pretty chaotic, which I think speaks to what CNBC is all about. That there was chaos up there, so kind of a tough format for everyone to have some earned or equal time out there on the playing field in order to speak to Americans. Those who did get their word in edgewise, especially like Ted Cruz, did wonderful. Marco Rubio, yeah, he got to put to rest some of the concerns that people have had about him, perhaps with some personal finances. It seemed anyway that he felt satisfied with his answers.
What did you say that Ted Cruz did wonderful? In what way? What impressed you?
Because he schooled the media. And that's what the American people are craving too, for our leaders who are already in these positions of authority to tell the media to start getting focused on the things that concern us, the things that really make a difference in a presidential campaign. Because, the state of the media, not you guys, but those guys, the state of them has been so poor and so unfair, and certainly this atrophying of the cornerstone of our democracy, the press. We have seen such a downfall of what the media has become that when Ted Cruz spanked them, well, we know they deserve to be spanked, and I think he kind of put them in order. It seemed like they kind of behaved a little bit better after that.
Let me ask you about Carly Fiorina. Once again, she was questioned by the female on the panel, as the only female up there, questioned about her tenure as a CEO. I thought she handled it quite well, and then they turned their attention to women, and under the Obama policies that would be continued by Hillary Clinton. In fact, Carly Fiorina said, how dare Hillary say she'd be the champion of women? And she pointed out how poorly women are doing in this economy, falling into poverty, out of the workforce, etc. Were you impressed by Carly Fiorina tonight?
Yes, I'm always impressed with what it is that she brings to the debate stage, because she's articulate, she's calm, cool, and collected. She gets her point across. Though, these questions about women specifically, how we're doing, how we're feeling, if there's a war on us, they kind of make me sick. Because I am one, maybe it's because I'm up here in Alaska and our conditions are a great equalizer, and men and women really are seen as equals up here. Those kind of questions, they just kind of bug me, because it's coming from the Democrats too, by the way. The liberals are the ones who want to keep dividing based on gender, based on race. And that's so passé in my world that, yeah, those specific questions about women, man, they just need to skip those. Talk about every American who is struggling and working paycheck to paycheck because of this overregulation, the overtaxing, government's overreach into our lives, led by the liberals.
Let me ask you, going forward here, what do you think the future is for Jeb Bush after witnessing him on the stage tonight? I thought he was more or less a non-entity. He went after Rubio on Rubio's, and I'd like your reaction to the attacks on Rubio, especially by the Sun-Sentinel, and the question that maybe he should get out of the Senate while he's running. And I thought Rubio was heroic in pointing out that, you know, it was Bob Graham and John Kerry and Barack Obama and John McCain that did the same things. But, you know, you've been in that position of running while in office. But talk to me about Jeb Bush. Where is he right now in this campaign, in your view?
Okay, well, first with Rubio, the points he made, right on. Again, he called out the media because they are hypocrites when, you know, they're calling on him to resign and yet, or at least suggesting that, and yet they've given a pass to more liberal candidates in the past who have missed more votes than Rubio. So I'm glad he called him on that. And as for me personally, yes, I was serving in office while I was running, and I ended up resigning. So, you know, maybe I'm not the best example for those who want to stay in office but miss a whole lot of votes and not do the job that they were elected to do. So, you know, I'm sure Rubio is having to consider that. But as for Jeb Bush,
yeah,
he did well tonight. He's got, though, a bit of, some would say, an insurmountable roadblock in front of him, and that is that establishment, the perceived establishment backing that he has. And, you know, most of us, average Americans, we're so tired of the establishment because they're part of the problem, obviously, on both sides of the aisle, that we seem to be quite attracted to those who have no kind of ties or obligations to the establishment. So, of course, Jeb has that going, but he did well tonight. Again, though, they all did so well tonight. I'm just tickled.
If you had to predict at this point, and we have several more debates to go, certainly, how do you read, and I think you're right on the anti-establishment sentiment. I think it's obvious. It's been obvious from the polls from day one. But to what do you attribute Ben Carson's success taking over the top spot in the one New York Times poll, the 3 polls in Iowa, the close polls in Texas, one he's ahead and one he's tied with Trump? How do you, to what do you attribute Ben Carson's success? Maybe aside from being an outsider.
Because we respect, though, that he is an outsider and he is intelligent and he is articulate, calm, cool, and collected, but he is articulate, and we know, we can sense that he has that passion to get America back on the right track. And he has kind of a unique background and kind of experience that's refreshing. He's not status quo politician. Good for him.
Okay, I want to ask you one more question, then I'm going to bring in Rick Unger, my colleague here at Newsmax Television. If you were a betting person up there in Alaska, and I don't know if betting is legal there or not, I would guess not, going forward, do you think that there are people who should consider getting out, and who do you think it will come down to? Who do you think it will go? Do you think it's going to be between Trump and Carson because they're the outsiders, or is there a quote-unquote insider who has a shot to still pull this out?
I think if a primary vote were taken today, it would be between Trump, Cruz, and Carson. And do I think that some of the candidates are needing to start looking at perhaps conserving some resources and dropping out? I do. I don't want to tell you who specifically tonight I think should drop out, but some of them should. You know why? People we get kind of burned out of all of them beating each other up, because what they're doing is wasting ammunition on one another, and we're feeding the beast when you consider what the left is going to do with the shots that the GOP has taken against each other. And, you know, at some point, it's like, come on, man, you have no chance of winning anyway. Why are you taking people's hard-earned money as contributions and you're spending them on those dollars on things that aren't going to get you to the White House?
You won't
So
give
at
us
some point,
one person. You won't give us one name who was on that main stage tonight, the big stage.
No, I won't.
Okay.
And I am looking forward. No, and I'm looking forward to that time of unity of the GOP. And well, like Chris Christie really focused on tonight, start focusing on what the problem is. The problem is Hillary Clinton, and she is going to be the nominee on the other side. And the problem is that the media is so in bed with Hillary Clinton that they have much personally invested in her, that they are not going to be fair going into a general election. That is a problem.
Well,
and that's why the unity that brings strength in the GOP party is so important.
You know that better than anybody from the day they announced you, and I'll never forget this. From the day you were announced, I think I was still in Minneapolis at the, or Denver for the Democrat convention, and once someone on CNN said, well, she's got a young child. How could she be a good mother and run for vice president? Right from the beginning. But let me bring in Dick Morris, who joins us along with Rick Unger. Rick, go ahead to the governor.
Welcome, Governor. I wanted to ask you, I remember well back in 2008 where you were running for vice president on the McCain ticket, and you frequently had issues, and I'm sure you've come to believe that you were right in your concerns, that Senator Obama, then Senator Obama, was too inexperienced to run for president at that point. I wonder how you square that with your support for Senator Cruz. I don't know how much you support Senator Rubio, but these are both first-term senators, just like Obama was. I wonder if you feel they're experienced enough to handle the job.
I had such great concern about Obama's lack of experience because that led into his worldview, and his worldview was so askew. It's not based in reality. And as for Ted Cruz and others who perhaps, as you suggest, have less experience than others running for the top spot in our nation, at least they have been effective in their jobs there in the United States Senate, Ted Cruz especially, and Rand Paul too. These guys are effective. They make a difference. Barack Obama, he just called it in. You know, he didn't do a doggone thing in the United States Senate except skip votes on things like, even when he was a state senator, skip votes on things like partial birth abortion, not evidently having a problem with killing a baby as it was being born, things like that. That led to more of the criticism about Obama, not just his years of experience that was so lacking, but it was what he was doing with that experience.
All right, let me bring in Dick Morris. Of course, Dick, say hello to Governor Palin.
Hi, Governor. The governor and I have a wonderful relationship.
How are you?
Because I think I was perhaps the first one to suggest to the Bush team that they, to the McCain team, that they bring her on as vice president. I had met Governor Palin during a National Review cruise a year before, and I was blown away. And I told them, you have to nominate a woman, and she's the only one with a pulse.
Okay, do you have a question for the governor, Dick?
Well, I think that Bush, you're correct, is really just so hidebound with his incumbency. Do you think that they gave Trump a fair shake in that debate?
Well, the moderators are always going to come after Trump. You know, they do not want to see his continued ascension or even him perhaps leveling off way up there at the top of the polls. They're going to do whatever they can to tear him down, obviously. Yeah, they tried to do that again tonight, but Trump can handle it, obviously, and the people of America are pretty doggone impressed with that. And that, too, is why you see him so high in the polls, is because he doesn't let those guys bother him with their criticisms and their, a lot of their bogus charges and all that. He's a fighter, and he's
You know,
running because he wants to fight for America and put us first, and that's refreshing.
Governor, I have trouble understanding why Carson is doing so well. He always looks to me like he's half asleep, and there's no specificity in the proposals. Obviously, he merits a great deal of admiration for a fantastic life before he entered politics. But I mean, I look at Hillary Clinton, who I know well. You know, I handled her campaigns for many years with Bill, and she would tear him apart in a debate.
I think that he is doing so well, though, because the average American really is over all that. The bombastic, perhaps charismatic, those criteria that some traditionally have laid out for what a candidate should be. And we're just seeking answers. We're seeking solutions. And Dr. Carson has certainly provided a lot of good ideas, and you know, we appreciate that. But I think Americans, we've had enough of that status quo politics as usual, which does include the need to be so charismatic. And I think it's a sign of respect that the American people are showing Dr. Carson and appreciation for his nature, which happens to be a little bit calmer than some of us.
And let me ask
Speaking
you.
of calm, I was very impressed with Christie. I thought that he really was in his element tonight. And I think I would look for him to make a bit of a comeback from this. What do you think?
Well, I do think that tonight was a bit of a shining moment for Chris Christie, because he is the one who kept trying to bring it back around to what really matters in the nation today. And that is, we need change in Washington. We need change in Washington by getting rid of what that status quo is, the liberals in office, in charge, and Hillary Clinton, of course, would be continuation of that. So Chris Christie did a great job in terms of bringing the debate back
I
to
loved his line, even in New
moderators. Why don't
Jersey,
you
we
start
consider
asking some
that true.
serious questions?
Governor, let me ask you, what do you think about his technique of looking into the camera? It's not the first time he did it. He did it the first debate as well, you know, ignoring and saying, I'm going to look, and he looks right into the camera. Do you think that that gets old and tired or cheesy?
No, not cheesy. I personally appreciate it because I feel he's talking to me. He's talking to the people sitting in our living rooms, tuned in, trying to hear what it is that these people really have to say, regardless of that filter of the mainstream media. And yeah, looking into the camera, I think it's fine. It's making us feel connected.
Governor, I'm interested to hear that you support Ted Cruz. Can you tell me why?
Ted Cruz is another fighter, and I'm going to support whomever it is who comes out swinging, if you will, swinging against the problems in America, this big government intrusion that has been seen as the answer by those in Washington. Ted Cruz has proven himself to be able to stand up, and regardless of what his own party will do to him, we saw what the party did to him when he filibustered, when he took a stand against things that the American people expected him to do because he was fulfilling his campaign promises. Hey, that alone, fulfilling campaign promises, that alone gets pretty high marks in my book.
I just want to be clear. You admire him and support him in that light. Are you supporting him for the nomination?
I think it's still way too early. You know, 2016 is, geez, this is in 2016, so too early. Again, Trump did great as usual. Carson, great respect for him. Cruz, obviously a fighter, willing to go against his own party in order to do what's right by the people. Those three, I'm really impressed with.
Rick, go ahead, Rick.
Governor, I want to stick on Senator Cruz for a moment because, frankly, I thought tonight, as I said to Steve, it was his coming out party. I think this was by far his best performance, and I think we began to see that this is the time where he's going to start to make his real run. But you had mentioned earlier when I asked you a question that you thought that he had accomplished a lot in the past couple of years in the Senate, certainly more than Senator Obama had accomplished at that point. And I will agree with you that he has done quite a bit in terms of speaking out, getting attention and things like that. But at the same time, I can't think of any important bills that have his name on it that he sponsored. He certainly hasn't made a lot of friends and influenced a lot of people within the Republican wing of the Senate. So I'm just curious what you see as the accomplishments he brings to the table, setting him up to be an effective president.
Exactly that. Good. The man has not passed a lot of laws that would impact the American people. Good. Because for every law that is passed, 2 laws should be taken off the books so America can again enjoy her freedom and the free enterprise and the competition that makes this nation exceptional. So good. I don't want him passing a bunch of laws that are going to adversely affect the United States of America, which everybody else seems to do. And in the Senate, part of their role is to push back against the leaders who are essentially statists, which Obama and his crew certainly are. Ted Cruz did a great job in standing up and saying, hey, voters, yeah, I remember why you sent me here. Hey, Tea Partiers, right on. You guys want me to repeal Obamacare, and I told you I would? Okay, even if I'm the only one, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to explain to the American people why that needs to be done. That's an accomplishment.
I know that you already weighed in on Ted Cruz spanking and schooling the media in general, and spanking, I think you said, the moderators. But let's hear what Ted Cruz said that you were referring to. And then I want to get your take further on the media bias involved, not only in tonight's debate, but in general.
The questions that have been asked so far in this debate illustrate why the American people don't trust the media. And you look at the questions. Donald Trump, are you a comic book villain? Ben Carson, can you do math? John Kasich, will you insult 2 people over here? Marco Rubio, why don't you resign? Jeb Bush, why have your numbers fallen? How about talking about the substantive issues people care about? The contrast with the Democratic debate, where every fawning question from the media was, which of you is more handsome and wise? That debate reflected a debate between the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks.
And, you know, Marco Rubio, governor, followed that up later by saying, when they were talking about super PACs, that the Democrats and Hillary has a super PAC, and it's the media. I thought that was a great line as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with both of them. And man, Ted Cruz's comments there, shoot, I wish I would have thought of those. Those are great. What Hillary is what she's doing too is playing right into that bias. She's doing the victimization, oh, woe is me role that the media seems to really perpetuate. They're feeding off each other. And that's not doing anybody any good. Where again, as on the other side of the aisle in a competitive primary, these guys got to fight it out. They got to duke it out in the arena of ideas. And that's where the good ideas, the solutions surface. That's how we choose the next best leader, not the next appointed leader, which is Hillary Clinton, but the next best leader based on accomplishment and intention for this country.
I know you've discussed this, and I know you've had time to think about it, but I would imagine that at this time of season, if you will, and hearing Ted Cruz say that and Marco Rubio, you know, it all comes back to you. How can Republicans, I don't think Mitt Romney did it well at all, especially in that Candy Crowley moment on the debate floor. How can Republicans fight back? Because it's not only the Democratic nominee that they'll be fighting against, it's also the media. I mean, they have to do basically really what Cruz did tonight, don't they?
Absolutely. And they have to participate in Newsmax forums and not cater to what it is that the mainstream media is demanding of them. They're grown adults. They can be able to put their foot down and say, no, I'm not going to do that interview with you, MSNBC, because I know what you're going to do to every comment that I try to make in order to
Why do they do it? Governor, I've never understood this.
People to know what I'm talking
Governor,
about.
not to interrupt
exactly.
you. I never understood this. Why do they do that? Why do they sit down with the enemy, quote unquote?
Because they hire these consultants who get paid a heck of a lot of money and they don't know a doggone thing, and they try to mold and meld these candidates and say, oh, well, even though you know what's going to happen to you, you better get in front of liberal television cameras, and you better try to play their game, even though, yeah, you're not wired to do it. You're not going to do well doing it, but you got to do it anyway. Those consultants, man, I don't know why they hire these guys, because they keep losing elections, for one. You bring up Mitt Romney not doing well, fighting against the mainstream media. Well, he hired some goofy consultants. So that's a problem right there. But no, they need to not. Well, he's the exception. These guys, they need to learn how to not retreat, but reload. Hopefully they have learned from their experiences getting clobbered by the lamestream media, and they know who then to participate with in order to level that playing field. Because as you suggest, it's 2 against 1 in this coming up general election. It's the Democrats and their lapdogs in the media, that's 2, against the Republican.
One more, and it's been great talking to you. What's your future? Do you have any desire to get back into politics, to maybe one day get on the national stage again?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The door would never be closed because, when you are wired to do something, when you have a passion within you, God doesn't give you that passion and that interest in something to tease or frustrate you and, get you on the wrong track. He puts that in you in order to be productive and get you on the right road towards what it is that you're supposed to be doing in order to make this world a better place. And I kind of feel that that's in me, a desire to serve. And I've had great experience serving on the local and state level. And, if that door were open on a national level, heck, I wouldn't